Welcome to this edition. We are going to try and establish a set of mudguards from some old done in fiberglass resin and some chopped strand mat, but I will be honest with you, I don't think this resin is any good. I think it's old and I'm expecting it not to cure fully. The reason I say this is because it's so thick and gloopy, and I'm going to have to thin it out with regular car thinners. That takes some of the internal ingredient, the structure, away, so the catalyst, I'm not expecting it to bond properly. So yeah, we're going to have a go just as an experiment with a new mould that we've made. You saw that in the Christmas edition that I put up. Just like to say, welcome to the new subscribers. We finally have some more subscribers. Hope this kind of meets your expectations. At the very best, you'll get a laugh from some of the mistakes that I make, and I make a few. But I am an amateur in a lot of this. So without further ado, we'll get this video started. I had a small brainwave, and that brainwave involves the old VW wings. You've got the light pod on the back, and although that one looks to me like it's already gone, possibly not, I don't know. I was going to fit the main headlights into there, if they'll fit. I've got the ones I want are over there, but this is an example only, right? Into there, and then I've got vintage style bolt-on headlights that sit on top of a wing. I don't know what the technical term for that is, but I've got them in the form of these. So I need to get my plasma cutter fixed because my torch is bust, because it is a cheap old thing. It's completely destroyed itself because I've always used it on the highest heat, and that's what's killed it. Okay guys, finicky is the word. Those mudguards turned up. Now that was the only size I could get on the internet, which was what, a 13-inch wheel, which obviously they are not. They're definitely not. I was 16s, I think, with a whopping great tyre. So yeah, we're going to have to do a lot of cutting. I think originally I was going to cut that across there and down, but I think I'm actually going to take it there instead and down, and I will use both of them to make up one individual one. So on the other side I will cut it just shy of there, and then that extra space from the other side will be joined onto there, and then I'll fiberglass the inside up. Width wise I think we're okay, even though I'm putting wider wheels on. I want them higher up. Right, I won't lie, I'm absolutely dead excited about this. The pictures I put up on YouTube in the community page, if you haven't seen it, go and check it out, will give you an idea of where I'm going with this. However, the photograph doesn't do this any justice whatsoever. I'm not saying it's going to work because I don't know. I have one other idea that I can put into practice, which was the one I spoke about, I think I might have spoken about originally, which was just making a flat mudguard that goes all the way around. That's the very last option, but that requires a bit of money in materials. Either putting a steel plate over the top of the tubing, which means if I do get it damaged, it's going to be a pig to repair. This, on the other hand, if I break it, it's fiberglass. I can fix it when I get home with some new fiberglass, or I can just make a whole new mudguard up with the mould that I'll be left at the end if I don't destroy the mould. So without any further ado, we will try and sort this out. Now this is not going to be easy because on these mudguards, they're plastic, they're what do they call it, plastic blown into a mould. You can see the area there where it was injected in, and they're a little warped in places. The idea is to get this piece of plywood that you see, that you don't see. Hang on, I'll point the camera down. That piece of plywood is going to be my base, and I plan to basically make one mudguard out of the two mudguards. So you remember I said that this wasn't wide enough? It isn't. This is for a 13-inch wheel. That's a 16-inch wheel. So what I've got to do, width wise as well, is an issue. I've got a cut down the middle on one side, so I shall take out this edge here, and then on the other mudguard I'll take out that edge, and then I'll join the two halves together, which will give me a mudguard of at least 1.25 foot wide, which is perfect for what I need. This side here wants to butt up against the side of the vehicle, and I need a triangular gap this side. Now I plan to run, I'm not 100% sure how this is going to happen, but I want to run rods across in various areas where necessary. On the back here it will just be straight bolts with big fat washers behind to stop the fiberglass from tearing apart, but up here it will probably be a piece of tubular steel coming out, which will be fixed to the side of the vehicle. That will give me a mounting point for the headlight to go on. That will get covered in a sheet of fiberglass or a sheet of alley. I haven't made my mind up yet on that because we haven't gone that far into planning. I am also going to try and keep it as low to that point so it gives it a bit of a transition between the mudguard and the front grille, so it dips down a little bit with the headlight mounted in there, so it looks like it was meant to be, which it kind of is. But I am fighting a lot of just warps, basically. I'm fighting. I also need to make this lip as strong as I can, so what I'm planning to do on this, once it's been fiberglassed up, we're going to get a piece of aluminium trim, and we're going to literally rivet that on, heat it up, bend it, heat it, bend it until we've got it wrapped all the way around that whole area. So it's like a scuff guard in a sense. So if I do slap the side and it breaks the mudguard, I'm hoping that the aluminium will keep it pinned, and when I get home I can then disconnect it. I mean, we could rivet it, we could bolt it, probably better to bolt it, that way I can undo everything, and then we can fix it all back up again. The top half, because we're going fiberglass or GRP, if I make it thick enough along the top, I may be able to sand out these lines a little bit, so it's got a little bit more of a flow going to it. And then if I can get some really thin checker plate, just because this is going to crack and graze, I can guarantee it, right? It always happens. There's a lot of movement going to be going on here. I'm going to be bedlining it, but what I'm also going to do is probably put a sheet of aluminium over the top, either a piece of checker plate or just standard flat aluminium, just for a bit of styling more than anything. It's all getting bed lined up. The whole truck is going to be bed lined. Very briefly, battery's about to die. This is going to be a very long-winded video if I carry on filming this particular part. So what I've got to do is clean up all those cuts where it's melted. I've got to put some heavy plywood screwed in on the backs because I'm using the inside edge as my mould, not the outside. And then what I might also do is, with some cable ties and a small flame, I might try and stitch them together just to fill them more than anything with some plastic, and then we'll sand it back. The filler that I need in here, the filler piece, I'm hoping to use a piece of ply. I don't have any. There is nothing lying around here thin enough. So I will have a chat with a chappie over the road before the day is over and see if he'll let me have a piece that's got scrapped out, if it hasn't destroyed itself in the rain. If not, I'll have to put car filler down. I'll have to put some screws in there so I've got something for the filler to stick to, and we'll just literally have to smidge over and then sand it all back, and then this mould will be ready for the first layup, hopefully by a couple of days time. That's kind of where I'm at with it. So there you go. You can see how wide I'm trying to make these, and I won't be fiberglassing all the way up on this one. For the front I will, for the back, but not for the front. I'll probably only go as far as here. So, but I don't want to cut them off because I am going to need them. So I might as well just leave them where they are for now. The fill-in pieces, well, I've got those two off-cuts, so I shall trim them, put a piece of ply under here, screw it into there and there, and then I'll put the new side on, and again we'll stitch weld that from the outside with a bit of luck, and the same with the other piece which is over there as well. We'll screw that in, although I cocked up a little bit. I didn't leave myself enough room, so the other side might be a little bit tricky to do, but to do, it's got to be done. I ain't got any choice, it's got to be done. So as I say, the fill-in will be car filler, and then we'll reinforce all the plywood with battens to stop this from wobbling around. Try and line it all up. Hopefully it will come out where it won't warp on me, because it will be very, very troublesome to straighten out depending how thick the fiberglass is, and I plan to make the top of this quite thick, so if it's warped it's going to be a nightmare. It's going to look ridiculous and I won't be able to use it, and the whole thing is a waste of time. Okay, well, while the battery's been charging up, I've been continuing, and this is it so far. Now, obviously, everything you see is going to get transferred into the fiberglass. Not a lot I can do about that. It's just the nature of the beast, I'm afraid. So what I'm going to do, very reluctantly, but I don't have a lot of choice really, is we're going to have to sand it back with wire brush, get rid of all these little nodules and raised bits, and screw some of that down a bit tighter there, look, and so forth. And we'll have to run some strips of tape over the top of the screw heads and the gaps. I've got a piece of alley to go in the middle, which is nice and chunky, but it's ribbed. That's the only problem with it. But we'll take advantage of that because we are going to put some checker plate on top anyway, and I may follow that around the contours. Sorry, I'll get the word out in a minute. So yeah, I've done the best I can with it. I could have done with a third mudguard, but at 43 quid for two, do you know what I mean? It's starting to get a bit of an expensive experiment. I don't know how this is going to come out, if I'm honest, but it is going to get painted up. So in bedline, and we'll see how that works. There we go. All I can do now is let that dry off. About 2 days time, we'll hit it with a wire brush. That'll be Boxing Day, and then we'll put some tape over it. We'll cut out the alley, put that in there. I ain't done it yet because late at night and everyone's, you know, I'm the only one working, it appears, at the moment. So I'm going to shut the door now, and we'll tape up where we can. We'll try and get some of these screws smoothed out a little bit better than what they are, but you know, we're on plastic, see, so. And then once we've hoovered it all out, we'll put some car wax on the surface and we'll lay up the first layup, which is just going to be pure resin. Okay, duct tape is what I've used. This is not the right stuff, but I had to tape everything up because I didn't want any locking points for when it comes to pulling the resin out, but 90%, if not all of it, is probably... Actually, I need to sort that out because obviously the shape is important, and if I've got stretchy marks, then it's not going to work. So I'll do that one as well. See, another locking point. So yeah, the tape's probably going to come off when I take the mould out. Now, I'm rushing ahead of myself because the resin centre's not open till next week. I thought it was open yesterday, but it isn't. It's next week, New Year. So that other stuff I used, you saw me use on the cameras. I'm using this stuff again. Now I have thinned that out because it was so thick that I felt that it just wasn't going to be suitable for the job as it was. I couldn't even get it out of the damn tub. So using a paint mixer, well, that's what I've done. So I've taped up all the lock points. I'm going to wax this up in a minute with some car polish. Most people get a polisher and they polish and polish and polish. I don't. I put the wax on, I let it dry like you would as if it was a car, and then I lay up. I leave it. It does leave the lines of where you've waxed. That is the downside, but I don't want any complications, so I'm going to heavily wax this all up. But I've just got to sort that bit out because that'll reflect. Because remember, the outside edge of my mould, it's the outside edge of what I'm building is the inside edge of this mould, so I can't have any lock points if I can help it. There's a few, but there's not a lot I can do about all of them. I mean, that one I've got to do, and that I just got to slice and put a new bit in, or just slice. Right, record this bit because I figured half of you, if not all of you, would be bored within 5 minutes. I've been here 2.5 hours, and I reckon there must be close to 6 mil thick depth, 450 gram matting, I think is what that is. That's what it feels like. That comes in different thicknesses, you see, and it's worked out in grams, and I think that's what it is. I think that's a 450 gram. The resin, I don't know what the hell it is, but it's crap. This is an experiment. I want to know if this mudguard's actually going to look right and work. That is rather a wet layup, to be honest. More moist than it needs to be. However, we'll see how this has come out when it has dried off. Well, I can tell you now that matting is extremely expensive at the moment to buy, so that's an absolute godsend that deal that I did to get this worked out the way it did. But the resin, I have a feeling, was knackered from the beginning. I think it had been stored too long, because this is taking forever to go hard. It's going, but it's still very, very soft and sticky on the surface. So we definitely won't be laying one up tomorrow. Not that I can anyway if I wanted to, because I've run out of catalyst and I've only got a little of that left. But I think what has also not helped my cause very much is I had to thin this out. I mean really thin this out. I'm also a little concerned about something else as well, because here that's arced. Now it could be because I've put so much stuff on there, but I'm seeing what looked like a blow there. So there's an area there I'm a bit concerned about. Everything else seems to be okay. Once we've popped this out, and I'm going to draw with a permanent marker around that first, so I know where the original lines were, and we'll go from there really. What I'd also like to do, but I don't know if it's going to be possible to do it, is to put a metal frame around this for protection. And I could actually admit, this very time in motion, this isn't working. I mean, the front view is okay, nothing to shout about, but has to look right from all angles. That tail end needs to go further down, and this is just the experimental one. And I need to cut an angle in so I can get that closer in. There, the tyres that are going on. I'm going to get 2 more of those, or get those treachery cut. And I was going to go about fitting them onto the steel rims I got, which stick out a little further. Yeah, I don't know what to do with this thing. I tell you, it's driving me nuts. It really is. I can't get this to work. There's only one other design I can think of, and if that don't work, then I think I'm done. I think I'm done. I think it's time to get rid and let somebody else take it on, because I can't think of anything else. Unless you guys have got some suggestions. Right, so I've trimmed it and I've lowered it. Now I need to bring that further down, but I can do that with a mud flap, rubber mud flap. Possibly. We can possibly even trim there if we need to. And obviously we need to put a big steel rocky slide underneath as well. But yeah, I think that's a hell of a lot better. It's still within the tolerances of that tyre. That one's probably going to stick out just a tiny bit. We can always try and make some eyebrows, or whatever the hell you call them in America, Australia and Canada, but over here they're eyebrows, I don't know. Spats, wheel spats. Yeah, the angles are right. Okay, I like that. I actually like that. I was getting ready to scrap that idea. That was an experimental mudguard. I mean, it's rough. I need to, the mould itself, it's a disaster. Had no choice but to put gaffer tape down, and that has left, the glue just didn't work with the resin, unfortunately, so it left the resin sticky. This, big time disaster, so I've now got to put some thinners on this PVC surface and scrape it off, because that ain't gonna work, because that's left the mudguard really sticky in that area there. And the other thing I need to do is foil tape. When I come to relaying that, I think we need foil tape, and I think also I'll put No, I can't do that, can I? I was going to say put the mudguard back in and then draw a line, but no, that's not going to be possible. So they didn't completely cock it all up. For some reason that one's still on there and that one's on there and that ain't sticky. But the others just came off. Very weird. That's the side view. As you can see, I do need to bring that further down and I need to get that angle a lot straighter than what it is, but it's just temporary at this point in time. I had to put some bricks on it to weigh it out. If I put them possibly there, yeah, I can't get that to wedge. I've got more cutting to do. This is still a bit rubbish, but we follow that line down further and hammer that rock slider out wider, because we can do that. Cut that tilt bit off where it goes in, get rid of that. I think that'll work. I think that will work, despite the fact we've got curves at the top and square edges at the side. But here's the thing, you see, if I build up those layers on the inside edge, there is absolutely nothing stopping me from sanding that and filling and getting that same curve. There's nothing stopping me from doing it. I can even do the same here as well, and there if I wanted to. Look how thick that went. No wonder my grinder was struggling. I think that works, because I can now see my other features. So what do you think, guys? Go with it? I think so. Yeah, why not? I'm gonna have to extend the bumper out just a tiny bit more, possibly. I think we all have an idea where I'm going with that. Anyway, yeah, we could even tilt that mudguard a little bit to match the bonnet line. That might even work better. Hang on, bear with me. A little bit too extreme, but you get the idea. Over. Might work. This video hasn't quite gone the way I had it planned. You've seen that go on. I'm pleased with that. This is a success, but it's also a failure. Success because we now know that will work, what we're doing. I think, anyway, my own personal opinion. But the failure part is you can dig your fingers in that. It just will not cure. It's still at a semi-gel state. Some of it has gone and some of it hasn't. And I'll tell you what the problem is. This stuff, watered down and old. I foiled all of the areas. So, I mean, it's a learning curve, isn't it? So I foiled everything. This now needs some wax on here, and I think we'll be good to go on the next attempt. So I need to build 2 more. I've only got that left. That, believe it or not, that ain't a lot. You might think there's a lot there, but there is not. So I am going to cut 4 big pieces out, and I'm going to do 4 for each side. I should get enough out of that for 4. But like on this one, I went extra heavy on the corner here. I will use all the offcuts to build up those areas. And I'm also debating, while this is like a mould, maybe add some alley to about that sort of height and then build up the wood, and then I can make that interchangeable to each side. Then I'm kind of thinking about it, because it would be nice to have that extra length each side for each one I do, especially when it comes to doing the rear, because the rear one is going to come off the step and it will go up and over, but it will come down short, because I should do the same I've done on this one. I will cut it in at an angle. I'm also debating, where is it? I've got a load of this I bought for a different style of mudguard I was going to make, so I am actually debating about trying to make some kind of cage that goes around. And the other thing I'm planning on doing as well, once I've got the angle irons fitted, I'm going to put a load of that steel across here, welded up to the angle iron, there and on there, and then I'll glass over the top to give the mudguard more rigidity. Try saying that with no teeth. So that's kind of the plan, really. I can't do any more. It's just not curing. It's soft. I mean, I can dig my nails in that. Now, it will go hard eventually, but how long will that take? I mean, I've had that on a radiator in the house for 2 days now, and trust me, it's a pretty stinky affair. And it's just not curing. I can't do anything with it, so, which is a shame, because I'd have liked to have got that one done. But what it is it's a good example for that side. So I can still cut in all the angle iron when I get some, which I was going to go down today, but my granddaughter and grandson have turned up with my daughter-in-law, so I can't really do anything until they're gone. So I thought, well, maybe we'll get the angle iron and we'll make the first brackets up, which kind of leaves me with a dilemma, because it's Friday. I'm still waiting for the plasma cutter torch to be delivered, because at least then I could have got on. Oh, what's this on the floor? No idea. I could have got on with the headlights, couldn't I? And made a start on those. But no, I can't even do that at the moment. So I think this video might as well get uploaded. You got an idea where it's all going, so I'm pretty damned excited about this. This is going to work. So, subject to weather, not whether I can do it, but whether as in it rains or not all the time, which has been doing. I mean, this morning we had a downpour. Now if I got the welder out, I'd only have about an hour, 2 hours time left before it get dark. Even though the nights are now starting to draw out again. It's actually quite warm as well. I feel sorry for America, because they're totally snowed in. But yeah, even with all this water I could still do some welding without too many problems, because just dry it off, don't you? So there's the lines of where the angle iron needs to go. Guys, you're just going to have to tune into the next one, I think. So next video we will have, if I can get the resin, 2 mudguards made up. We will have 2 mudguards mounted, and there'll be a progress as I go along, because I am going to bring my other camera out with my remote mic and try and record as much as I can. And we will also make up the 2 headlights, or attempt it anyway, and see if they work. And if they do, then we'll remove all of that and stash them out of the way, and then we'll start concentrating on that line all the way along there. We'll get that one done. Once we've got that fixed, then concentrate on the scuttle. So we've got to get a plasma cutter out, we've got to cut all that crap off, we've got to put new metal in there, new metal in the middle, and then we've got to join that all up to the old scuttle, and then the hole inside. I'll see if I can show you what's going on inside. That all needs joining up. Oh. See the gaps? So I've got to cut all of that off. I've got to take the brake servo off. I've got to cut all of that out, and where the original scuttle was on the Morris Minor, I want to put that back, reinstate that, and put a shelf. I'm hoping I can get away with putting the battery on the shelf where it would have been as a Morris Minor, and I've got to build up the metalwork around that servo and clutch. And speaking of clutch, that has now broke. That needs sorting out as well. Once we've got that all established, we can then start thinking about throwing some paint on it. Don't care what the weather is. We'll dry it somehow, and we'll get some bed liner on it. I reckon that's where I'm going to go with this. But I am thinking about yellow. So roof, bonnet, and whatever goes on at the back, yellow, and then the rest of it black. That'll help those stickers stand out, assuming they still want their sponsorship name on here. I don't know. I did speak to one of the managers a few weeks back before Christmas, and he was whispering something. He talks too quietly and I'm going deaf and I couldn't hear him. Said something about the sponsorship, God knows what. I don't know. Ain't got the foggiest. But if they still want their name on it, they're welcome to it. If they don't, no skin off my nose. Yeah, I think yellow will work well. We'll do the bonnet yellow. We can do that part yellow all the way to the back, maybe, and then the bottom half in black, and then a nice big yellow circle or something with a logo or something, you know, a branding. I need a name for this. I was going to call it the mule, but that's a bit of a rubbish name, to be honest. I mean, it fits it because it's a hybrid between various things like a donkey and a horse. But who wants to name their vehicle after a donkey? I know, I flipping well don't. So yeah, I need a name. So guys, you know, if you want to interact with this bit, stick some suggestions up. I may not use them, so don't be upset if I don't. But by all means, put some suggestions up and we'll see what you come up with. Sensible ones, not stupid ones. So for this video, more talk than it is action at the moment, but you get the gist of where we're heading next time round. So the next video, it might take a week to do, it might take 2 weeks to do, bear with me, but there'll be more coming up. So thanks for viewing, thanks for subscribing, welcome to the new subscribers, because I appear to have a few, and stick with us, you never know. Have a good new year, bye bye. In next week's video, we make some headlights from some old domes from Volkswagen Beetle wings. We extend our mould, and next week we take a trip to AOC, resin specialists in Essex, if they allow me to film, that is. So join me next week on the rusty road to greasy gold.